35-year-old police cadet Kelly Rothwell is missing. She was reportedly last seen at the restaurant chain Chili's, where she allegedly had lunch and told a friend she was headed to her apartment to break up with her boyfriend. What happened after that lunch? A mystery. Police say they've attempted to interview Kelly's boyfriend, 45-year-old David Perry, a retired corrections officer, but he's left the state of Florida. Police say the boyfriend won't talk to investigators at all. Kelly's car found abandoned about 2 miles from the couple.
Where is this gorgeous police cadet, Kelly Rothwell? She had never missed a single class. She had looked so forward to graduation coming up from an elite police academy, but now she's gone. Her friends even calling in a psychic. We are taking your calls out to Christine in Arizona. Hi, Christine.
Hi, thank you. Has anybody looked into his training as a corrections officer? One of the things they're taught to do is to choke people out. If he was doing that, that would be the thumping on the floor. And if she got hit in the head, there wouldn't be any trace blood evidence. And they, I guess, didn't find any. So, I mean,
Sergeant Scott Haynes, let's answer Christine in Arizona's question. Sheriff's Officer, Santa Rosa County, Florida, you had to go through academy as well. Do you learn moves like a chokehold, how to defend yourself, how to make an arrest? I mean, I'm showing video right now of her at the police academy learning a chokehold, so the answer is pretty obvious.
Well, actually, Nancy, they do teach you a lot of different restraint techniques, but the chokehold technique has pretty much been done away with quite a long time ago due to liability issues surrounding that. So that is not something that they do teach. They do teach different types of self-defense and protecting yourself.
What kind of a background check do you do on somebody before they can become a corrections officer?
Nancy, it's pretty much the same thing that they do with police officers. They interview your neighbors, they do full criminal background checks, very detailed interviews with yourself, some type of truth verification examination, drug testing. It's quite... they also make you take a psychological, which usually entails anger management issues, things like that.
To Lauren Howard, psychotherapist, joining us out of New York. Lauren, it's like football players out on the field. When you're used to pounding people into the grass for a living, it's kind of hard to turn that off. I remember as a prosecutor, after all those years in the courtroom, where it's, you know, you're on the attack, on the attack, on the attack, on the defense, all day long, every day. You can't just walk through the mud all day and not track a little bit home. And I imagine the same is true for police officers. When you deal with what they have to deal with all day long, you probably develop an exterior that seeps in after a while.
That's certainly true, but you know, being unbiased in any arena is very difficult. You talk to attorneys, and as far as they're concerned, there are no grounds for thinking that there was any malfeasance from the boyfriend. You ask me, I'm a psychotherapist, I have no bias, you know, what my opinion, irrelevant. But Nancy, everyone looking at this, including myself, including the attorneys, it doesn't pass the smell test. Something stinks. Something's wrong. We can't decide that it was Perry because he was a corrections officer and he was in the habit of being rough. That's not what makes it smell bad. What makes it smell bad is this guy disappeared as soon as his girlfriend went missing.
You're right. You're right, Lauren Howard. Lauren Howard, psychotherapist, joining us out of New York. Weigh in. Pat Brown, criminal profiler, author of her most recent book, The Profiler. What do you think, Pat? And remember, he has not been named a suspect at this juncture.
Right, he hasn't been named a suspect, but I also wonder about that bolting to New York. I think he's not having a problem with
and not
worrying
allowing
about
cops to look in his car, Pat.
Well,
I mean, if a cop comes up to me and says, hey, I need to look in your car,
right.
I'm like, look.
Well, exactly. He doesn't want anybody looking in his car, so we are suspecting there might be evidence there. But also, I don't think it's the problem of him not wanting to talk to cops, but not wanting them to see him. Because if it was a body slam to the floor, if he did use a strangulation or choke on the poor girl, if that's what actually happened, then there's likelihood that he has scratches and abrasions to his own body. And if I were him and I committed a crime like that, and we don't know that he did, I'd be jumping in my car and getting out of Dodge so the police cannot see any kind of damage to my body until maybe after it heals.
To Dr. Michael Arnold, board-certified forensic pathologist. Dr. Arnold joining us out of Denver, Colorado. Doctor, the neighbor who's with us tonight reports hearing, he and his wife hearing vacuuming immediately after the series of dull thuds upstairs, enough to make them think, hey, what's going on? What's wrong up there? What would cops look for in that vacuum cleaner?
If it was a regular vacuum cleaner, they're going to be looking for some type of object that was broken during an altercation. If it's a wet dry vacuum cleaner, they may be looking for blood or pieces of tissue.
And explain what's a wet vac.
Oh, a wet dry vac or a rug cleaner that has a soap so that he could vacuum up any soap that he put on the floor. You know, it's a wet vacuum cleaner like you get at Home Depot, but that could vacuum up blood residue or something of that nature.
But DNA would still be on the floor, would it not?
Yes.
Ken Williamson, the downstairs neighbor, could it have been a wet vac you heard?
I doubt very much, because it's the same vacuum that we've heard him throughout the time he's lived here.
So you know what
Mary
it is.
says he vacuums about 4 or 5 times a day, and although there's nobody up there but him. So
Okay,
yeah, it was a regular vacuum.
You know, vacuuming 5 times a day, every day, when you're all by yourself, that's a whole nother can of worms. Ken, I want to go back to William Constantine, the psychic assisting Kelly's friends. William, again, thank you for being with us. When you tried to decipher what happened in this case, what were the images or the response, the inner response that you got?
Well, the first thing is when I first entered the condo, I had a strong sense of a scent of smell, like a cleaning solution.
Yes. And then what?
And then basically I heard sounds. I definitely heard like he had threatened her life on numerous occasions, and that there was a struggle that happened in the back room.